Hi, and welcome into another edition of Half Hour Huddle, your weekly chance to interact with the student athletes at the University of Alabama. I'm Aaron Suttles, your director of content for Yale, Alabama, and today we are very pleased to be joined by someone that you guys know very well, and hopefully you'll get a chance to know him better during our interview today. James Burip, the punter for the ball team, returning after a stellar season last year. We'll talk to him about what it's like to be a punter in college football and the role that is, what it's like during practice, how do you not tire out your leg, all the things that go into it. And we'll bring him on in just a second. I want to always remind you to make sure you're following us on our socials, whether that's on X or Instagram or Facebook. It helps you keep up with what we're doing in the NIL space for the University of Alabama and their student athletes. Without any further ado, let's bring him in. James Burnip, the punter. What's up, man? Thanks for joining us today.
No, of course. I'm glad to be here.
So what's your day-to-day like right now? I know that you may not see it, but I know you guys are always working, especially during the summertime when people maybe aren't thinking that you guys are working. So what's an average week like for you right now?
So we pretty much have just like summer conditioning at the moment. So we are in the weight room Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. That's lower body lifts, upper body lifts, just full body lifts, everything. Getting like power movements, speed movements down. So the strength guys are doing a great job with that. Then Wednesday is our run day. So we'll do agility, endurance, a bit of everything, just mix it in each week. And then Monday and Fridays also implement a run at the end of our list, which is, very good.
All right. So I got to ask you, you're 6'6", is that right?
Yeah, 6'6", 6'7", depending on my day.
All right, I'm with you. I always go taller. I always say go taller. Did you play any other sports? I know you're from Australia, but I imagine you played rugby at some point, but maybe outgrew that. But what others did you ever get interested in basketball?
Yeah, so I'd never played rugby, which is something everyone always was like, what? Like, everyone thinks of rugby when they think of Australia, but I played Australian football, which is a primarily kicking-based sport. So that's where I got my kicking ability from, and like that sort of the natural ability of being able to feel the kick, how to kick. Obviously, it's a very different style kicking to punting in college football or American football. Then I grew up playing pretty much every sport. I was always an active kid, so I played tennis, basketball, soccer. You name it, I pretty much did it. So yeah, I love my basketball, so that's hard to let go of.
Yeah. All right. So I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but what's the thing you miss most about being away from your home country?
There's lots of things. Obviously, first things that come to mind is your family and friends. It's a lot harder to stay in contact with them considering the time zones. It's pretty much flipped around. So right now it's 12 o'clock in the day. It's 3 a.m. over there. So don't really get to talk to them as much as I want to, but that's just a thing of life. Then probably the sports. I really like Australian football, watching it, playing it. That's probably my biggest thing. And then just like, I don't know how to explain it, but just the life that I sort of live over there. I was from like a sort of like 45 minutes outside of Melbourne. I spent a lot of my childhood outside with my friends. We're all really close. So I think that's probably the biggest things I really miss. And the food. The food's good.
How often are you able to get home?
I normally go home once a year. So over that May break after school's done, I'll go home for about 2-3 weeks. And just hang out with family, friends, and do all the things I missed out in the past year.
All right. So a typical trip from Tuscaloosa back home, how many connections are you making? Where are you flying to Atlanta? Are you flying to New York? And how long is the flight?
So I go from Birmingham to either Dallas or Houston. So that's about a 2-hour flight. Then Houston or Dallas to LA, which is another 2-hour flight. And then we go LA to Melbourne, which is about 15 and a half hours. Yeah.
No, you're 6'6", 6'7". What are you doing for leg room? Because I'm tall, but I'm not that tall. I'm 6'3", and I just the leg room. I mean, it kills me. So what are you doing?
I try to get myself whenever I get to the front desk. Whenever I'm checking in my bags, I always ask them, "Hey, I'm a very tall kid. Would love to if you guys have any extra legroom seats available, like exit rows, bulkheads, something like that." And then sometimes I'll just upgrade me for free. Then sometimes I'll book that seat myself. So really depends on how I'm feeling.
All right. So if there are any airline representatives watching, let's get our man upgrade. Let's get an NIL deal for James so he wouldn't have to pay the upgrade fee. All right. So how did you get into punting? It's such a specialized thing, and especially, I guess at 6'6", 6'7", you have a lot of leverage, which creates a lot of power. But how did that journey begin for you?
Yeah, so as I said, I played Aussie rules football, so primarily kicking sport, played soccer, so I have sort of that movement of bringing my leg through the ball, kicking it. But that's mainly, it's like lower passes, short, like it's like how a quarterback throws the ball to the receivers, like he's trying to zip it into them. But I was just at practice one day back in Australia, messing around with my friends, kicking footballs. And then the guy that I played with just committed to Ohio University. And I was like, oh, like, that's interesting. I saw him punting footballs. I was like, oh, it doesn't look that difficult. Like, I feel like I could do it if I try to do it. So I went down to practice with him one day down in Melbourne. So Pro Kick Australia. I remember it clear as day. It was pouring rain. The field is just a mud pit. And I'm like, I don't even know if I can actually do anything in this. Like, it was terrible. But my coaches, Nathan Chapman and John A. Smith, saw something obviously in me, potential, and they brought me into the program. And then I kind of worked at that craft 4 or 5 days a week for just over a year until I started getting interest from schools over here. And then, yeah, committing to Alabama and coming on over here.
Yeah. So when did you realize, how soon did you realize that you had a talent for it?
I think maybe in the first 4 months, I was obviously changing my kicking style from what I normally was used to trying to hit traditional spirals, and it was a very frustrating, tedious process because like obviously you hit the ball half an inch outside of your foot, it's spewing out to the right. If you hit it inside, it's spewing out to the left, and then if your nose is up, your nose is down. Like it's just everything affects the kick in some way. So I found it. I kind of fell in love with the idea of it, like the technical aspect of it. But I think maybe 6 months into the program, I started hitting like solid balls, and I'm like, yeah, interesting. Like I feel like I could pursue this and go play at a high level in college football. So
Yeah. So how did Alabama come into the picture? I'm sure they had a relationship with the kicking academy that you were a part of. But when do you first remember Coach Saban and the people from Alabama making contact with you?
it was so originally I was committed to Ole Miss. I don't know how many people know that. It wasn't very big information or nothing, but it was right when like the transfer portal started to ramp up and COVID years happened. So when that happened, I was meant to sign in the December period and then come in as an early enroll. But everything got a little bit jumbled up with that, and I was a little bit like sort of in the I don't know, it was like sort of like a blurred line of where I was at. And then I was waiting until the next signing period, then their punter decided to come back another year, and I was like, oh, interesting. Like I don't really want to wait a whole another year to come play college football. Like I'm ready to go now. And then one day I'm driving back from Geelong, which is where I was practicing over COVID, and I got a call from a 205 number who was our old special teams assistant coach, and he was standing in the middle of Bryant Denny Stadium, walking around, showing me, and he's like, "Hey, like tomorrow we're gonna get you on a Zoom call with Coach Saban, and he's probably gonna offer you a scholarship." I was like, "Oh, awesome, mate, let's do it." So woke up at I think it was like 3 a.m. Coach Saban just got out of practice or something, and yeah, he talked to him for about an hour, went through everything about Alabama, like the tradition, all that sort of thing, and yeah, I just committed on the spot and decommitted from Ole Miss and got on a flight 2 weeks later.
Yeah, you brought up something interesting that I didn't even think about. So he calls you at 3 a.m. So are they telling you, listen, you got to stay up?
Yeah, it was interesting. So he texted the special teams, my old special teams assistant, JG, texted me and was like, "Hey, like, this is the time we're going to be doing it." And he obviously sent it from like Central Time over here. I was like trying to figure out like what time it is. I'm like, let's see what like time this is, and it's like 3 a.m. I'm like, damn, like I don't know what to do here. Like, do I just stay up or do I wake up like a
Yeah.
little bit before and get myself ready, have a coffee? But I ended up just waking up, having a quick shower, put on some clothes, and just sitting down on the couch, and yeah, had a good chat with him.
Yeah. So had you ever been to the States before?
Yeah, so I traveled a little bit over here with family, and then I did a couple basketball tours with my high school, and we played like tournaments in Texas, New York, the Carolinas, and stuff. So I had a good idea of American sports, but no idea about the magnitude of college football or nothing. Like
Yeah.
drove past like the University of Texas Stadium. I'm like, damn, like it's pretty cool. 4 years later, I played in it, so it's crazy how the world all works.
Yeah, no doubt. So obviously, being from where you're from, you're used to the heat, so that wasn't too much of a shock. Maybe the humidity was, but
Yeah.
what other culture shocks did you experience?
Um, just like the way, especially in the South, like the way people speak, it's very country sort of. I mean, I was hard to understand when I first got here as well, but you're going both ways. I'll be talking to some people, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. Like, you don't have to repeat that and repeat it and repeat it. But obviously, like we all speak English, so like we're all on the same
Yeah.
language with that, which is good. But I'll just say like the way you guys cook your food, you like to fry a lot of things. The first meal I ever had, it was like I had a starters of fried pickles, and I'm like, what is what's going on here? Like I didn't understand it all quite, but I've gotten used to that, and yeah, I kind of like the food down here now, which is nice.
So your first game that you got to play in, just your emotions, your reaction to coming out full of a stadium with 101,000 people, and I imagine even though you practiced for this, there's got to be a little bit of nerves with that.
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%. Still to the day, I still get a little bit of nerves, and I think nerves are good. I've always been nervous whenever I play sport, no matter what level it is. And I think I kind of just feed off of that, and like I kind of enjoy having that nervous feeling pre-game, going out, seeing the stadium when there's a couple thousand people in, coming back out, there's 20,000, and just keeps building up. It kind of builds you into it. You're not walking straight out into 100,000 people and then catching a ball and kicking it straight away. Like you have a lot of build up to the game, which is kind of good.
All right. So is there do you have a favorite punt in your career so far? Is there one that stands out that either for whatever reason was big in a moment in the game where it flipped field position or created a turnover or just one that sticks out to you?
I definitely have. There's a few. Obviously, like my first good spiral that I hit in the game, I remember that one very clearly. Last year against Mississippi State, I think it was like a 67-yard ball that just stopped on the 1 yard line. Then the Michigan game when it was the last 20 seconds left, and I hit that ball to the 5, and he muffed it, and I thought it was going to be a touchback. I don't even know the rules. It's a safety or a whatever the one where they start going like that. I don't know what it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, those are the ones that definitely stick out. But I have a lot of them, and I remember all of them, so I love them
Yeah.
all.
The one that you hit last year, obviously you can't control what another team does. But it was such a big moment in the game. Obviously, late in the Auburn game, the returner falls down, fumbles it. That was a huge one. What was your vantage point on that?
Honestly, that was probably one of my worst balls I hit all year last year. So
Really?
I think that might have been one of the things that made him might have muff it. I connected well on it. It had good hang time, got a good distance on it, but it just drifted towards the middle of the field because the ball didn't turn over. So that's how the ball flies. And yeah, I just kind of didn't know what was going on. And then I saw the ball on the ground, and I think Jihad picked it up, and I was like, all right, let's go. We're in a game now. So
Yeah. So for those that don't know, like sometimes you're there's a coverage called, right? And you're trying to put it on a specific part of the field. So did it go opposite of where you were like the coverage was going?
not opposite. It was definitely the coverage would have had to adjust to it. That's for sure. I always try to hit my balls on top of the numbers or outside the numbers, and that one kind of drifted towards more of the hash mark, the right hash mark. But once you get running, you kind of I assume the coverage players will look up, see where the returner's moving, and then yeah, adjust to that pretty easily. So it definitely wasn't my worst punt though.
I got to ask you. So I've often times seen like on these hard knock shows, sometimes these coaches will they'll put a lineman back there and they'll say,
Yeah,
if you catch this, well, I'm calling off practice early. I've
yeah.
always thought people think it's way easier to catch that than it actually is. How many people, like average people, like out of 10, do you think could actually catch it? Because I don't think the number is that high. I think it's actually pretty difficult to catch that.
I think it depends on background. Like obviously, if I throw my dad out there, I would give him 1 out of 10 just because he helped me punt. He caught some of my punts already, but I just know he won't be able to
Yeah.
fully field them all. But if you have if you have some sort of athletic background, you play like wide receiver or DD or something in high school, I feel like you'll be able to maybe catch 3 or 4 of mine. I don't
Yeah.
want to sound obviously too up myself, but I don't know. It's really hard. So I
Yeah.
have lots of players in practice always play, oh, pump me a ball, I want to catch it, I want to catch it. So it's kind of funny when I'm kicking lots of balls and they're all just dropping and be like, one more, one more, one more, one more. So
We should try that. I'd like to grab like some of our subscribers and take that out there because, I mean, it's more than just the velocity of the ball coming down. You have to judge the distance off the foot,
yeah,
and that either requires backing up and catching it while the ball's coming down, or on the move. And people don't have a background in that. I just think it's incredibly difficult. I think most people think it's pretty easy, but there's a real talent involved in that.
no, 100%. And I think it's also hard to read the ball because it's not always a perfect spiral. So
Right.
like sometimes they either perfectly spirals and it turns over. They're a lot easier to catch in my opinion. But if it doesn't turn over and it stays like a little wobbly like this, it's going to swing each direction. And it's even
Yeah.
I struggle with them, and that's what I do. I do that every day. I catch some of the other boys' punts in practice and stuff, and I'm like, well, I don't know how to read this one sometimes.
Right. How does the wind affect your approach to a particular punt? Obviously, if the wind's going with you, you want to get it up there and let it go. But you also don't want to outkick your coverage, right?
Yeah.
You still want to have the same hang time. And what do you do differently if you're kicking into the wind?
Not a whole lot really. I try to keep everything very similar for every type of punt. Try and trust my technique. But obviously, if you feel a 20 mile per hour wind in your face, like you obviously want to. Your natural instinct is to change it to what you think is going to do better. So I think it's a lot of mental discipline when it comes to that. But normally, I'll just slightly drop my nose down and have my contact point just a little bit lower, just so there's less room for error when I drop the ball out of my hands and it hits my foot, just so like the ball's not moving like that. But everything pretty much stays the same, I think, when it comes to that. Just got to trust yourself.
Yeah. Have you ever played in conditions where, I mean, it's not a far drop, but it's enough where you're talking about a game of inches. If you mishit it, it could affect the flight of the ball. Have you ever had the wind really move the ball from the drop?
Not in game. In games, I feel like it's the stadiums, especially in the SEC, very protected from the wind. Like you might be able to feel a little bit of wind on the field, but it's just like swirling around. It's not going to actually affect the ball as much. But in practice, you'll get because it's a bit more open fields. You'll get a little bit more wind, and you'll watch film back, and you'll see the ball just completely turn like sideways or turn the other way, and you try to like match your leg swing to it, and it gets real tricky and it gets very awkward very quickly.
Absolutely. So, for those who don't know, I mean, the specialists are a tight knit group, just by nature of those positions and how much time you guys spend together in practice and whatnot. And you became really close, I believe, with Will Reichard.
Yes,
What's
sir.
it going to be like not having him this year? Because I think you went to his wedding, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was one of the groomsmen in his wedding, so we're very close. We've been close since I got here. He kind of took me under his wing and showed me the ropes of it all. But yeah, it's going to be obviously different. You can't take that away. Like we've had our same routine we do every single day. We shared a hotel room the night before every game. Like, so having someone different in that is going to obviously not affect me, but it's going to be something that I got to change what I do, how I live, like not how I live, but like how I come prepared for a game. And then it's obviously a different, when it comes to field goals and extra points, it's a different, what's it called, operation. So
Yeah.
obviously whoever's kicking the ball this year is gonna get used to my holds, and I'm gonna have to get used to like how they kick it, how they like do their pre-game warm-ups and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of that, but I guess that's what this whole summertime period is for, the fall camp period's for. So when we get to that game day, it's gonna be nice and easy.
I wanted to ask you about that operation part of it, because I've always had this theory, because for the longest time, Alabama used backup quarterbacks as the guys who held. And I always thought, well, that really affects you guys, because the backup quarterbacks is practicing with the offense all practice. So they don't spend as much time with the specialists. And so last year when you became the holder, I wonder from Will's perspective, if you guys talked about it, like because you guys were able to rep it so much and you're with him all the time, did you think that helped him mentally and the mechanics of it, knowing that you guys had been able to practice it so much?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think, well, ever since I've been here, so whenever we warm up for field goal or something, obviously the quarterbacks are working out on the other field. So I'd always be holding for him. He was used to what I did, and then he'll get into the script and he'll kick with the quarterback, and then it's a little bit different how they do it. Let's be honest, the quarterbacks, last thing they're worrying about is how they're going to hold this football. So I think it really helped Will as well. Like obviously he's a tremendous kicker no matter what. But I think just having that consistent routine with us holding, like we did the exact same thing every time we went out on the field. We always talked it through. And I think just doing that helped him, helped me. And it was, we were confident in the whole scheme. And then you can't forget about Neil and snapping the balls. Yeah, nice and easy with us all. So,
Yeah, it's nice to have him back again. That part of the operation back this year. What have you learned about the new guy? Tell us a little bit about Graham.
Grant, yeah, I love Graham. He's awesome. So, he came in and he's locker's right next to me. So we got really close. I tried to show him the ropes kind of the same way that Will showed me the ropes. We'll get out of practice, workouts, whatever it is, get in the hot tub, cold tub, chat it up, just like kind of build that connection, that friendship. And he's been really good. He's kicking really good. So I'm excited to see what he can do this year as well.
Yeah, obviously came in with a lot of recognition and taking over from the all-time leader in scores for college football, which was really cool that Will got that last year. You kept up with him? He's I guess getting ready for his NFL season?
Yeah, he's back in town at the moment, so I've caught up with him a couple of times since he's been back, which is good. So I always love hanging out with him, and spending time with him is always good fun.
All right, so tell us just let's get to know you a little bit. What's your taste in music? What do you like?
It really depends on my mood. So if I'm waking up 5:30 in the morning and I got to go lift weights, I'm probably just putting on some rap. So whatever I'm feeling that day, if it's a bit more slower rap, if it's more like you know how it is, like I
Yeah.
don't know, whatever mood I want to get into, I'll do that. Whenever I'm sitting around, like just like hanging out, I like to put country music on. That's a big thing I got into when I came over here. Never listened to it in Australia, but everyone plays it, so I got into that. I don't know, a little bit of everything. I like a bit of house music, EDM. Yeah, just whatever gets put on. I normally know it. So
Yeah, so I imagine your teammates may be surprised when the first time they heard you listening to rap. Have you gotten any reaction from your teammates? And name your top. What are your top rap artists?
I didn't. I think everyone's a little bit surprised when I came over here and they're like, "Oh, like do you know like X rapper or this rapper or that rapper?" I'm like, "Yeah, like of course I do." Like they're known like at least in like Western cultures and stuff pretty heavily. I think that was pretty funny, but my top three, I'd probably have to say Rob Wade. He's my number one. I like Young Boy and Lil Baby. Just something easy, something simple.
All right. So in terms of your pregame ritual, or you got your headphones on, is that what you're listening to? And take us through your pregame ritual. What's your stretch routine like, and what's important to you game day to get your mind right to go out there and kick?
Yeah, so I get into the locker room. The first thing I do is get like dressed into my pants, into my like playing pants, and then put my top on. I try to be the first guy out no matter what. And there's always obviously little things that I do that is like my sort of thing, my superstition. I never tie my shoes up until I kick a football. I'll always run down to the other side of the field, have a feel of the wind down there, come back to the middle of the field, feel the wind there, and like see how it all changes around the field. And I'll do a little bit of just like dynamic stretching, move the body a little bit, focus on breathing, like grounding myself into the stadium. And then I'll tie my shoes up, and then I do. I don't know if anyone's really ever seen it, but I do like Aussie rules goal kicking to warm up. So I'll just kick goals through the uprights for 20 minutes, just from different spots, like the corner pylon, straight in front, the other corner pylon, just doing all types of weird kicks, just getting my leg moving. Um, and then once that's done, when I have about 20 minutes until I got to go back in, I'll start hitting my no steps spirals, my one step spirals, my two steps, and then I'll get a couple pumps with Neil snapping it to me. And then I normally will either grab the returner, and then kick a couple balls to him so he can get a feel of the sun, the lights, whatever time game we're playing, the wind. Get him to catch a few, and then we'll run back down to the PAT spot. I'll catch a couple holds, and then we'll go inside and stretch the team, come back out, and get ready for the game.
I'm going to be watching for those this year. Now that I know it's routine. We talked about Will. One funny moment from his career is I think from the Auburn game a couple years ago when he stood over the guy. What was that like in that moment? Because Will's not the biggest guy and he's sort of unassuming. But do you like to get in guys' face? Do you get pumped up like that?
Yeah, I like to talk a lot of smack. I think it's come from basketball. I just like to get under people's skin, sort of talk, like ruffle a little few feathers or something. Like nothing crazy, but I'll just like, and obviously I'm a punter, so like there's nothing.
Right.
I'm not hitting a guy, but like if someone's containing my punt, like or something, and he says something to me, I'm definitely going to give him something back. Just a little friendly banter here and there, but nothing too serious.
That's just part of being a competitor,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah.
That's just part of the game. So, do you have a favorite game during your career so far?
Oh, it's a hard one because all my best sort of games have been the games we lost in. So last year, Texas, I really enjoyed my Texas game, just from my punting standpoint. Um, then obviously the Michigan game I punted very well as well. Arkansas last year, I liked that game coming back from when I got injured the week before. Um, but then like my favorite game I played in probably Tennessee this year. Just that sort of revenge after they beat us at their place. My first game against Miami was pretty cool as well. Going down
Yeah.
every game. I could keep going with this, but I think every game's been special to me.
No, that's the beauty of college football. Do you think some of that you mentioned that some of your best games are unfortunately games that Alabama lose? Is that just because maybe you're getting more opportunities and so you're getting more of a rhythm?
I think so. I think that's one of the big things. Obviously, last year I had a lot of quite a few good games, but just looking at like statistic wise, whether it's distance, hang time, I feel like those games just kind of came together more. I don't know if it was sort of like that pressure that we're on the back foot the whole game, and I'm trying to get the defense in the best position. But I think those games just sort of, I don't know, just got me hyped up, and I just wanted to kick the ball as hard as I could.
All right. So obviously, a big change happened in the offseason with the retirement of Coach Saban and Coach DeBoer and his staff are there now. You've gone through your first spring practices with them. You guys are getting ready to start fall camp here in a little bit. Just your impression so far of the coaching staff and how they've come in and built relationships.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I really like Coach DeBoer. I think he's a really good coach, very personal coach as well. Then my special teams coach, Coach Nunez, we have a great relationship as well. We'll go watch film. Yeah, we'll always be talking. I'll just stop by his office with some food and talk to him as well, which is nice. So I think building those relationships with those coaches is really big, just for them to have the trust in me, and then I have the trust in what they're doing as well, what their play calls are and stuff is good. And then all the other coaches I like as well. They like to get into the punters and the kickers and stuff a little bit. They always have something going on with us, so I think it's a bit of fun whenever they're just talking some smack to us as well.
Yeah, always good natured fun. Final moments here with Alabama punter James Burnip. We appreciate his time during the offseason catching up for our subscribers. When you start looking at the potential of this team, I know Alabama football is always what's in front of you, the next step. You guys don't tend to look down the road, but just looking at the group that you guys have, what do you think the potential is for this year's team?
I think the sky's the limit for us, honestly. I think we have a very good offense, very good defense. I think a lot of people are doubting on us right now. Obviously, our special teams unit, I'm obviously going to say that's going to be the best unit in the country in that position. I think we have all the pieces. I think we're going to be able to put it all together, and I'm just excited to get out there and play some football and see what happens and string some wins along. And who knows what's going to happen postseason? But I think we're going to go deep into the playoffs.
All right, can't let you get out of here without the obligatory Outback Steakhouse question. Is it a joke in Australia? Do they just make fun of it? And have you been?
I've been a couple of times, yeah. So my first time was last fall camp, so very interesting. Nothing like it's very like obviously everything's Australian themed in there. So you go to the bathroom, it says Sheila or bloke
Right.
or whatever it says, like something like that. But it's good, but it's just not really
Yeah.
Australian food. But then I didn't hear about Outback Steakhouse until my very first day here, or when I'm on the phone talking to coaches, being like, "Yeah, we got to Outback 5 miles off campus." Somewhere, I'm like, I don't even know what you're
I
talking
don't
about.
even
Like,
ever heard of it.
no, exactly. But I don't mind it. I'll go there every so often and get some blooming onions and some pasta with some shrimp and steak or something. It's not bad.
Awesome. James, man, thanks so much for your time. Good luck with fall camp coming up. Hope you stay cool during these hot summer months, and we'll catch you out on the field at Bryant Denny.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. That was James Burnip, punter, joining us for this week's half-hour huddle. Make sure you catch us for next week's edition. We're going to talk a little bit of recruiting behind the scenes. Can't get into specifics with specific recruits, but we're going to talk about how Alabama staff has hit the road, obviously running, when it comes to recruiting. So thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next week.